National Electrical Code (NEC) does not specifically address the use of rebar bonding for equestrian facilities, but it does require that all metal raceways and enclosures be electrically continuous, as stated in NEC 250.8. While concrete does provide some electrical isolation, it is not a reliable means of ensuring electrical safety in the presence of animals. Animals can come into contact with metal objects, such as stall gates and watering troughs, which may become energized if the electrical system is not properly grounded. The most effective method of ensuring electrical safety in a concrete float barn is to install rebar bonding. This involves placing a copper or galvanized wire mesh or rebar in the concrete during the pouring process. The mesh or rebar is then connected to the electrical grounding system, providing a continuous path for electrical current. If it is not feasible to install rebar bonding, other grounding methods may be considered. Firstly, install ground rods around the perimeter of the barn and connect them to the electrical grounding system. Secondly, install grounding plates under the stall gates and other metal objects that animals may contact. Although the NEC does not explicitly require rebar bonding for equestrian facilities, it is generally accepted as a best practice to ensure electrical safety. Installing rebar bonding or implementing an alternative grounding method will help meet the code requirement for electrical continuity, NEC 250.8. While the concrete floor in the barn may not be the primary containment area for livestock, it is still important to ensure that the electrical system is properly grounded for the safety of both animals and humans. It is recommended to install rebar bonding or consider alternative grounding methods to provide a continuous path for electrical current and minimize the risk of electrical shock. When dealing with electrical installations in animal housing, it's crucial to prioritize safety. The presence of animals introduces unique challenges because they are more susceptible to electrical shock than humans. This is due to factors such as their size, contact with wet surfaces, and potential for increased contact with grounded objects. Therefore, exceeding minimum code requirements and adopting best practices is highly recommended. Let's delve deeper into rebar bonding. Rebar bonding involves creating an equipotential plane within the concrete. This means that all metallic objects embedded in or in contact with the concrete are electrically connected. The purpose is to minimize voltage differences between these objects, thereby reducing the risk of shock if an animal comes into contact with two different points simultaneously. The typical method involves embedding a grid of reinforcing steel, rebar, or a wire mesh within the concrete slab. This grid is then connected to the electrical grounding system using appropriately sized grounding conductors and connectors. The NEC specifies requirements for grounding and bonding in Article 250. While it doesn't mandate rebar bonding specifically for animal confinement areas, the general principles of creating a low impedance ground fault path and minimizing voltage gradient supply. Consider the size and spacing of the rebar or wire mesh. Smaller spacing between conductors will create a more effective equipotential plane. Also, the size of the grounding conductor connecting the rebar grid to the grounding system is important. It should be sized according to the NEC tables based on the size of the electrical service. If rebar bonding is not feasible due to the existing concrete, alternative grounding methods become essential. Ground rods are a common solution. These are metal rods driven into the earth to provide a connection to ground. Multiple ground rods are typically required, spaced at least the length of the rod apart to reduce earth resistance. The NEC specifies requirements for ground rod installation and testing in Article 250. The resistance to ground should be measured using an appropriate ground resistance tester to ensure it meets code requirements. Grounding plates are another option, particularly for localized grounding of metal objects. These are metal plates buried beneath stall gates, water troughs, or other equipment that animals may contact. They are connected to the grounding system to provide a low impedance path to ground. The effectiveness of grounding plates depends on the soil conditions. Moist, conductive soil is ideal. Dry, sandy soil will provide poor grounding. Therefore, it's important to consider the soil conditions when selecting and installing grounding plates. Supplementing ground rods and grounding plates with supplemental bonding conductors is also recommended. These are conductors that connect individual metal objects together into the grounding system. This helps to further minimize voltage differences and create a more robust grounding system. Consider the use of ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs. GFCIs are devices that detect small imbalances in current flow and quickly interrupt the circuit, preventing electrical shock. The NEC requires GFCI protection in many locations, including wet locations and areas where animals are present. Installing GFCIs on all circuits serving the horse barn is a prudent safety measure. Regularly inspect the electrical system. Check for damaged wiring, loose connections, and corroded components. Animals can be rough on electrical equipment, so regular maintenance is essential. Pay particular attention to grounding connections. Ensure they are tight and free from corrosion. Test GFCIs periodically to ensure they are functioning properly. Keep electrical panels and equipment clean and dry. Dust and moisture can create conductive paths and increase the risk of electrical shock. Implement a lockout-tagout procedure for any electrical work. This ensures that circuits are de-energized before any maintenance or repairs are performed. Train personnel on electrical safety. Anyone working in the horse barn should be aware of the hazards of electricity and how to avoid them. This includes proper use of electrical equipment, recognizing signs of electrical problems, and knowing what to do in an electrical emergency. Consider hiring a qualified electrician to perform a thorough electrical safety inspection of the horse barn. An electrician can identify potential hazards and recommend corrective actions. They can also ensure that the electrical system complies with all applicable codes and standards. When installing wiring in a horse barn, use appropriate wiring methods. Non-metallic conduit, also known as PVC, is a good choice for underground wiring because it is resistant to moisture and corrosion. For above-ground wiring, use metal conduit or cable with a durable outer jacket. Protect wiring from physical damage. Animals can chew on wires, so protect them with conduit or other physical barriers. Keep wiring out of reach of animals whenever possible. Use weatherproof electrical boxes and fittings in damp or wet locations. This will prevent moisture from entering the electrical system and causing corrosion or electrical shock. When installing lighting, use fixtures that are designed for wet locations. These fixtures are sealed to prevent moisture from entering and causing electrical problems. Consider using LED lighting. LED lights are more energy efficient and last longer than traditional incandescent or fluorescent lights. They also produce less heat, which can be an advantage in a horse barn. Install lighting fixtures high enough to prevent animals from damaging them. Use guards or cages to protect lighting fixtures from impact. Regularly clean lighting fixtures to remove dust and dirt. This will improve their efficiency and prevent overheating. When installing receptacles, use GFCI protected receptacles in all locations where animals may be present. Use weatherproof receptacle covers to protect receptacles from moisture and dirt. Install receptacles at a convenient height for use. Consider the needs of both humans and animals when determining the placement of receptacles. When installing switches, use weatherproof switches in all locations where moisture may be present. Install switches at a convenient height for use. Consider the needs of both humans and animals when determining the placement of switches. Clearly label all electrical panels, circuits, switches, and receptacles. This will make it easier to identify and troubleshoot electrical problems. Keep a detailed electrical diagram of the horse barn. This will be helpful for maintenance and repairs. Regularly update the electrical diagram as changes are made to the electrical system. In addition to the above, consider the following specific to horse barns. Horses are particularly sensitive to stray voltage. Stray voltage is a small voltage that can be present on grounded metal objects due to imbalances in the electrical system. Even a small voltage can be enough to cause a horse to experience discomfort or pain. This can lead to behavioral problems, reduce milk production, and other health issues. Therefore, it's important to minimize stray voltage in horse barns. This can be achieved by proper grounding and bonding, using isolated grounding systems, and minimizing the use of single-wire feeders. Consult with an electrician who is experienced in equine electrical systems to ensure that the horse barn is properly grounded and bonded. Consider the location of water sources. Water is a good conductor of electricity, so it's important to keep electrical equipment away from water sources. If electrical equipment must be located near water sources, use GFCI protection and weatherproof enclosures. Be aware of the potential for rodents to damage electrical wiring. Rodents can chew on wires, which can create a fire hazard. Protect wiring from rodents by using metal conduit or other physical barriers. Regularly inspect wiring for signs of rodent damage. Consider the use of surge protection. Power surges can damage sensitive electronic equipment such as computers and lighting controls. Install surge protectors on all circuits that serve electronic equipment. Review the 2017 NEC. The NEC is updated every 3 years, so it's important to stay up to date on the latest requirements. Consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that the electrical system complies with the current edition of the NEC. Remember, electrical safety is paramount. By following these recommendations, you can help to ensure the safety of both animals and humans in the horse barn. Electrical systems must maintain electrical continuity according to NEC 250.8. Electrical continuity ensures a safe path for fault current to return to the source, allowing overcurrent protection devices, such as circuit breakers or fuses, to operate and clear the fault. Without proper electrical continuity, fault current may find alternative paths to ground, potentially energizing metal objects and creating a shock hazard. Several methods can achieve electrical continuity. Firstly, using metal raceways, such as rigid metal conduit or electrical metallic tubing, provides a continuous metallic path for fault current. Conduit fittings must be properly tightened to ensure a secure electrical connection. Secondly, employing equipment grounding conductors, or EGs, within non-metallic raceways. The EGC is a dedicated conductor that runs alongside the circuit conductors and connects metal enclosures and equipment to the grounding system. The size of the EGC must be appropriate for the circuit's overcurrent protection. Thirdly, utilizing bonding jumpers to connect metal parts together. Bonding jumpers are short conductors used to connect metal enclosures, equipment, and other metal parts to create a continuous electrical path. Bonding jumpers are commonly used to bond metal water pipes, gas pipes, and other metal objects to the grounding system. Regular inspection and maintenance of the electrical system are crucial for maintaining electrical continuity. Check for loose connections, corroded components, and damaged wiring. Repair any problems promptly to prevent electrical hazards. All electrical work should be performed by a qualified electrician who is familiar with the NEC requirements for electrical continuity. In a specific context of a horse barn, electrical continuity is particularly important due to the presence of animals and wet conditions. Horses are more susceptible to electrical shock than humans, and wet conditions can increase the risk of electrical shock. Therefore, it's essential to ensure that all metal objects in the horse barn are properly grounded and bonded to maintain electrical continuity. This includes metal stall gates, water troughs, and other metal equipment. Consider the use of equipotential planes in areas where horses are present. An equipotential plane is a grid of conductive material, such as wire mesh or rebar, embedded in the concrete floor and connected to the grounding system. The purpose of an equipotential plane is to minimize voltage differences between different points in the area, reducing the risk of electrical shock. Consult with an electrician who is experienced in equine electrical systems to design and install an appropriate grounding and bonding system for the horse barn. The grounding system should be designed to minimize stray voltage and ensure electrical safety for both animals and humans. Ensure the proper use of listed or labeled equipment. The NEC requires that all electrical equipment be listed or labeled by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories or ETL-SEMCO. Listed or labeled equipment has been tested and found to be safe for its intended use. Using listed or labeled equipment helps to ensure electrical safety and code compliance. Do not use equipment that has been damaged or modified. Damaged or modified equipment may not be safe and could create an electrical hazard. Replace any damaged or modified equipment with new, listed or labeled equipment. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for installation and use. The manufacturer's instructions provide important information on how to install and use the equipment safely. Failure to follow the manufacturer's instructions could result in electrical hazards. Be aware of the dangers of arc flash and arc blast. Arc flash is a dangerous electrical explosion that can occur when there is a fault in the electrical system. Arc blast is the pressure wave created by an arc flash. Arc flash and arc blast can cause serious injuries or death. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, or PPE, when working on electrical equipment. PPE includes items such as safety glasses, gloves, and arc-rated clothing. Do not work on electrical equipment unless you are properly trained and qualified. Electrical work should only be performed by qualified electricians who have the knowledge and skills to perform the work safely.